in COVID-19 units. She's an ER nurse and she's currently in Rhode Island. So I'd like to introduce you to Emily. Hello, Emily.
Oh,
So she's going to answer any questions that you have. She's going to talk about her experience and, post anything in the comments that you have like questions or comments. Give her lots of praise for, getting in there and helping all these patients. So I'm going to drop off here and then she's going to answer your guys' questions and tell her about herself.
thanks. All right, so like she said, I'm Emily. I have been a nurse now for 6 years. Been traveling for the last almost 4, which is crazy. I feel like a grandma. And I've exclusively worked in the ERs. So I started out in Colorado, then went to Virginia, and then Baltimore, and Oregon, and Utah, and Idaho, and Washington, and Connecticut, and Alaska, and Oregon, and now in Rhode Island. Did you follow all that? So anyways, now I'm here. This has been a totally different experience than I thought it would be. I moved from Oregon all the way out here to be by family, which is so fun. Found an amazing place like 2 miles from my family, and then got about a week with them before I could no longer see them. So it's just like everyone's life has just been very different than what we thought. But thankfully, I've been super pleased with my hospital. But what an interesting time to join a new hospital, I will say that, which I know a lot of travelers are doing right now. But I kind of came, the week I started was basically the week it all came down. Oh, hi, Arlington. That's where I lived. So anyways, when I first came here, that's kind of when it all crashed. It went from, there's talk of maybe some like protocols we'll throw out. It was still kind of a joking matter. And within a week, it was one of our doctors had actually tested positive. And so it was like, well, we can't put everyone on quarantine that was working with that doctor that week because that would be our entire staff. So the solution was just, we've all been wearing surgical masks, been required to every minute of the shift since then. So I had about 1 normal shift, 2 normal shifts. So that's what that aspect has been like. But yeah, I think it was my first shift on my own. So second shift there, I had a super sick patient that looking back, we were like, oh, he probably had it. But it was before we were doing the testing at free will at that point. But yeah, it's just always so fun being on your own that first shift and doing an intubation with sick person and putting them on pressors. And as a traveler, still having no idea where anything is and turning in circles and then being in isolation and just asking everyone, hey, I forgot this because I literally have no idea where anything is. Help. So it's just been a roller coaster, but I've been super grateful. The people at this hospital are awesome. So it's been very seamless to kind of jump in. And I know, like a lot of people, realize that the census is super low, which is, it's just like this weird paradox going on of it's kind of eerily slow in terms of our numbers, but then it just takes 2 sick patients in the department to like throw it all off. And you're like, well, there's only 10 people here, but we're all super busy because they're kind of one-to-ones because you're stuck in these rooms for forever. So yeah, in the ER, I'm sure it's different than actually on the units, COVID units, but I mean, it's weird because you have to essentially treat everyone like they're positive until we have reason to believe they're not. So it's just every day, as I'm sure everywhere, it's like, oh, you walk in and then policy has changed. And that way we did it the day before have changed. So it used to be, when I started, there were only 2 negative pressure rooms, and then they were able to convert our rapid assessment. So there are now 4 up there, but that is not staffed at night. So at night shift, we basically have 2 negative pressure rooms. And then in addition to that, we have 3 extra rooms with doors, but everything else is curtained or hallway or open. And so where we're at right now is it used to be anyone that looked pretty high suspicion would go to the negative pressure rooms. It has now changed to those are to remain completely open unless you think that they need intubation or we are now running our codes in there. So they took away all of our trauma bays and now our code room because they're not negative pressure. And so we are now running our codes in our tiny little negative pressure rooms, which is also super unfortunate since these 2 rooms are the worst rooms ever to have a vented patient in because they're both like in corners with doors and little tiny windows. So when you have someone sedated and you leave the room, there's no way to see them. So we're all learning, but it's the way it is. We do have N95s. So we're supposed to wear surgical masks for just the entire shift, but then when we have a rule out patient, we put on our N95s. And so that status right now, I think probably similarly with all hospitals, it's really hard to tell how much PPE we have. They're not being super, I mean, it's not like a topic that they're talking about at huddles, and especially as a traveler, I'm not kind of in the know with a lot or getting the emails, but it seems like we have plenty of surgical masks to go for however long we need it. And then we're lucky enough, our isolation gowns are reusable, so laundered, so we won't run out of those. And then right now, we're just supposed to use our N95s until they become visibly soiled. So I think I'm on week 3 of mine, which I'm trying to make it last as long as possible, honestly, because it's I forget the numbers. It's the white one, and they ran out of those ones. So they just have the teal ones left, and the white ones are so much more comfortable. So I'm going to cry the day that I have to go into the blue one because those make me feel like I'm dying. A little drama added, but the white ones are way better. And we have a few of the vented pappers, but the docs get those, which is kind of annoying considering how they don't spend much time in the room, but that's neither here nor there. And then they just brought in basically gas masks. I don't know, the big things like that, but you have to get fit tested for those, and I haven't done that yet. So, and those are just optional for you if you want them. So, wear it every second. Yeah, I could, except I would die of suffocation. So I definitely wear it when I'm in sick patient's room, but surgical mask with another mask on top for me after that. It's also nice that with the low census at nighttime, you don't have as many people that are contagious. So that's been a little bit about that. What else? I'm trying to think of any interesting stories. Well, it's been a weird dynamic when people code or die. Just the whole visitor restriction has been something we've had to work through right when it was very beginning. It was just like the weird traumatic effects of not letting family into the rooms or into the department to see them. So they're always working out and ironing things out like that. Rhode Island does have a really interesting policy that's different than anywhere I've worked for the field, in that they EMS is required, if there's a code that's called, they're required to spend 30 minutes at the house before they start coming in and just do continuous compressions, just because research has showed that uninterrupted compressions for the 30 minutes yields better outcomes. But what that means for us now is that they show up and they've already been down for like 45 minutes. And so if they've been PEA or asystole the whole time, some of our docs are just going out to the rigs and calling it out there rather than bringing them in and potentially contaminating everyone. So that's been a big change, which sounds kind of barbaric, but at the same time, if you're in this field, you also know that if someone's been down for 45 minutes to an hour with no shockable rhythms or anything, their outcomes are super, super slim anyways. And a lot of the reason that we'll keep them is for the family to say goodbye. And since that's not happening, that's kind of the route they've taken. So there's that aspect of it. Let's see, what else is new? We have our little face shields that we've been reusing mine's probably about a month old now, that we clean with our isopropyl alcohol. Don't worry, we're not drinking it, although some of us are tempted to at times. Some of the docs here have started, they moved out of their homes and have gone into hotels. There's a hotel here that's giving medical staff really cheap rates. So some staff has moved out of their homes to not contaminate their families. I've heard stories of people here that have gotten kicked out of hotels because they're medical staff, or someone that went grocery shopping and was in her scrubs on the way into work, and some lady came and slapped her on the face and told her that she should keep her germs at home. And this nurse was like, I'm just going into work. These are clean. So it's real. I've fielded phone calls from family members that still think this is a fake and a scam. So taking care of her man-child of a son who couldn't take pain. She wanted him to be admitted, and we had no reason to admit him. And she called to tell us that we were making this all up. And we just didn't want to do anything, and we're lazy. So that's why we weren't letting anyone back. And we said, okay, ma'am, you can stay in your car. So these are the fun aspects. Any other specific questions? I'm trying to think of other little tidbits that I've done while I've been here. Yeah, it's just interesting. Everyone now is getting swabbed on admission, essentially, unless they're very asymptomatic. So you're basically having to do precautions on every single patient that comes in, which is a little crazy, but such is life. Considering how many times we go in and out of rooms in the ER, it's not the same as being on the floor where you can kind of predict your day more or less and bundle your care when you have to go and start lines and labs and meds get added on like every half an hour. You're constantly going in and out. So it's a team effort. Some docs are better than others. At bundling it, I did one that he's high on technology and had a Bluetooth stethoscope, and he put his phone, how did he do it? He brought his iPad, he FaceTimed his iPad. So we went in the room together, and we've developed these kits, like COVID kits. So if we know it's going to be a pretty sick patient, we know we're going to be stuck in the room for a while, they've put together these like baskets essentially of all the supplies that we're going to need. So we do that and then go in there, and we also have an intubation kit. So because all of our rooms, we've stripped everything out of them, because if you have a patient in there that is questionable, once they leave, everything's supposed to be thrown out. So that's another tricky thing, is there's nothing in the rooms anymore. So everything is just adding a few extra steps. But we went into the room, we had all the stuff, and we did his intake, his assessment, line labs, fluids. We had someone outside the door as a runner. And so as he was putting in orders, they were running and getting all the meds for me. And then he was able to, it was super nice because the doc was able to FaceTime his resident outside. And so the resident was putting in all the orders so that the nurses could go grab everything for me. And then this patient was super sick, so they needed to be admitted. And so he called and had the admitting doctor come stand outside the door and did a virtual assessment with the patient, and then used the stethoscope, the Bluetooth stethoscope, so that the admitting doctor never even had to go into the room. And so we were in and out of there in about 40 minutes, which was pretty amazing. And then I didn't have to go back in until I admitted her, which was super nice. We've had to teach patients how to take their vital signs, some of them, just the healthy looking ones, to avoid having to gown up and go in there again. So we have given them the thermometer and told them how to do it. And they're like, okay, when we go outside the door and give you the sign, that means we need you to do it. And then you'll just tell us the numbers. And there's quirks as anywhere. The rooms that they converted over to negative pressure rooms, they don't have central monitoring in them. So it's that's one of the things that I'm like, if we're really going to do this and have a surge, these are going to be sick people and there needs to be central monitoring, but apparently that's not on their priority. And yes, we do have to take our temps prior to our shift. We've been doing that since I think the first week I started here. And then I don't think too many of our staff have had to call out in the ER. I know there was a shift last week that 11 floor nurses called off. And we're not a huge hospital, so that was a big dent. We had 2 progressive care nurses, and that was it for the whole hospital. So that took a beating. So it's just interesting. They're trying to push, not as sick people on progressive. So everyone's just having a higher learning curve for what they're doing. I had a super, super sick DKA not too long ago that they were trying to put on progressive. And I was like, ooh, please don't. This is going to end poorly, I think. Not because they're not capable, but she needed to be up in an ICU. So Yeah, those are some things. What else can I run my mouth about? It's sunny here. I've never lived in a place with daffodils. There's so many daffodils here, so that's super fun. And I have gone grocery shopping one time during all of this. So cheers to that. That's the nice thing with living by family, though, is she's done some grocery shopping for me, which was super nice. Oh, there's been so much food. That's what I could talk about. The food. Guys, people are so generous. Didn't realize that Rhode Island had such a high Italian population. It does, for those of you from the West Coast that don't know either. There is food. I've tried to pick up as much extra time as I can because I have literally nothing else to do with my life out here, considering how I chose to move to the smallest state during all of this. That's 40 miles by 40 miles. Not my best decision. Nowhere to go. But people are bringing in so much food. Out of all of the shifts that I've worked, I am not exaggerating one bit. How many weeks have I been here? Probably worked 5 weeks. So I've worked at least, I've probably worked about 20 to 25 shifts. There's probably been 4 shifts that there haven't been pizza in the break room. I'm not even kidding. Pizza all the time. And then catering companies will just come and bring like vats of pasta and so much food. People's like family members will just like cater Chipotle looking food all the time. It's rough. I had to put myself on a restriction after week 1. There was so much good, delicious things in there. Little kids are bringing in like ornaments with inspirational things on them that we hung around the department. So thank you all to feeding us, because I haven't had to go grocery shopping much because I'm eating so much at work. It's wonderful. One of the biggest changes I've made is I shower after every shift and wash my hair after every shift now, which going from a 2-washer a weeker, that's a lot of hair washing. If you're a guy, you don't get that. Girls will get that. But you come home and some people like have this changing station in the back of their car with their shoes and all that stuff, and I don't do that. I just don't lick my shoes. That's what I choose to do. And I come home and strip down and shower right away. So I put on boiling water. That's how I choose to do it. Our hospital, I don't think anyone ever got in trouble necessarily for bringing their own PPE as long as it was appropriate, but we're allowed to now. Bring in our own masks if we choose. They just said, which I'm pretty excited about, that the uniform code is now null and void essentially, which I only have 3 of the color that they wear here. So shout out to my mom for sending me all my other ones that I'm going to be wearing. It's just really nice to not have to do laundry every 3 days. So yes, meals in Arizona, it's so great. We're all coming out of this a little heavier. That's all I'm saying about that. It's a good thing we're like drenched in sweat in these COVID rooms. One day I came out and I'm not, it's embarrassing, but it's not. I had worn a long sleeve shirt and a vest, so I took the vest off beforehand and we were checking them in, so I had to wear lead under because we also shoot our own x-rays now. Long story, but yes, we shoot x-rays. And so I had the lead on and all of the gear and the mask and everything, and it was already warm. And it was just, I came out looking like I had jumped in a pool. I was so sweaty. You're welcome for all that tidbit. So at least we're burning extra calories while we're working, right? So we're getting more food, but burning more. Our managers have been super supportive, which is awesome too. We work in a place where managers pick up night shifts oftentimes, and they've been so great. They're helping. It's really time consuming too, because now no one else can take these patients upstairs. So nurses are really the only ones that can go in the room at all. Like techs don't. You don't get. It's like nurses, respiratory, and doctors. So we don't get any help from lab or radiology or EKG or techs or anyone. So it's more work heavy. So it's really nice that our workload isn't quite as high, or volume isn't as high. But anyway, so management has been helping take these patients upstairs, which is just a time-consuming task, which that process changes daily. That's one of the big things is just the proper way to do that. It was, for a long time, we had to like reroute through the basement and choose a different elevator to bring them up and all these different things. And you have to have a dirty person and a clean person go up with you. So it's just a lot of arranging in order to make what should be a pretty simple task doable, which that's just the life we live in right now, I think. But we're getting it. Everything's getting ironed out. This is life. This is where we are. But it is fun. I mean, get pretty close with your coworkers at a time like this when y'all can only talk via eye contact over your masks. What else should I ramble about? Anyone have an idea? I'm trying to think of anything else. I haven't gotten sick yet. Like I said, I don't know that there are many people that have called out here that have. We have someone guarding the front door, so nobody is allowed to come in through triage. If they have symptoms, they go to what we call car triage, where a doctor goes and they literally go back out to their car and they call this number and talk to the doctor on the phone, where they get their whole H and P and, I guess not the P, the H. And then the doc goes out and kind of eyeballs them and decides, can they be swabbed and go home, or do they actually need to come in? So that's been super nice for these young people that come in with flu-like symptoms. We've been able to just swab them, wait for the flu to come back. If that's negative, they go home and just have the results pending for the swab. And then a lot of the older people we have to bring in. But at least we can start them out there with the hope that maybe they don't have to come in and expose us all. That's one change. Trying to think of any other big changes. I think the big one this week was taking away the code room. Yes, I don't know any other questions. Any thoughts? It hasn't been that bad so far. We are making our way through it. So they have started working on relief centers here. The state of Rhode Island has actually been really good about closing the borders early and enforcing a lot of restrictions. So our numbers are small, but it's also because our population is really small here. I think there's 1 million people for the entire state. And the nursing homes have gotten hit really hard here. There was a big nursing home here that a week ago had almost 60 positive cases. So they've been the ones that have been really hit hard. But they do have a relief place open. It's like the open air that our docs were talking about last night. This is the kind of the terrifying though environment where you're like, oh, that's going to be staffed with OB doctors. And they're going to have nasal cannula and non-rebreather and maybe intubation stuff if you need it. So just when you think about how sick these patients get so quickly, it is a little terrifying. So hopefully we won't need that. How am I taking care of myself? I sleep all the time, because that's all I have to do. I'm picking the daffodils outside. I live in this really awesome spot. I'm literally on the water. So I am going on runs almost every day and trying to be outside. It is still kind of cold and rainy here though, so only when the sun is out. But yes, sleeping all the time and taking full advantage of it. I have this stockpile of vitamins I've probably owned for years and haven't been taking. But now I'm taking them, so I'm trying to do that. My sister-in-law is amazing and has all of these homeopathic things that I'm taking too. So keeping the body strong, don't you know? And just working a lot. Like I said, trying to pick up as much overtime as I can because that's socialization hour for me. Because I know the only people in Rhode Island I know are my family and the people I work with. So if I don't pick up, I'm going to be stuck at home doing nothing. So I'd rather go in and be with people. So that's where I stand on that, which I was saying earlier, it just is kind of dependent on how it looks that week how short they are, but because our census is so low, they're really trying to prevent overtime hours. So not everyone is getting them. And then it's that weird debacle as a traveler where people get mad at you for getting your overtime approved when they're not getting overtime approved. So you kind of tread lightly and don't tell people that you're working overtime just because it's kind of that weird dynamic of, well, it's not my problem. That's the manager's choice. I just bid for it and they gave it to me. So that's where that is. But that is very few people are like that. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? I hope you guys are all staying safe and having fun. It can be fun. It doesn't always have to be bad and sad. We have fun and laugh all the time. So I hope you are too. I don't know. All right. Oh, the common cold has a higher rate than COVID. I am no expert, but I want to say no. I mean, the flu, which is worse than the common cold, has a 10 times less mortality rate than COVID. So I'm going to go on a limb and say no. That the common cold has a lower death rate than COVID. These people that are sick, and they get sick fast. We're seeing a lot of them on the classic day 10 to 14 of symptoms. They crump. They come in very tachypnic, very short of breath. O2s in the 70s, 80s. So, all right. Well, that was my story. I hope you enjoyed me droning on. Hope everyone stays well.
Thank you so much for getting on there and helping answering those questions and telling your experience. And if anybody is watching this later, feel free to post comments in the comment section, and then she can help answer them later on. But thank you so much. I hope you're staying safe. And yeah, so thank you, Gypsies.
Thanks.